And I'm actually going to take about 45 minutes to an hour and go through the entire rule set. We're going to click on all of the different buttons for Savage Worlds in the Fantasy Grounds tabletop. Now, if you guys don't know what Savage Worlds is, it is sort of like a generic rule set. And, you know, I don't mean the word generic in a negative way, but it is a generic rule set, just like I said, and you can play any type of games. You know, companies get licenses for Savage Worlds rather easily, and they create any type of genre that you want to play Savage Worlds in. So, you know, the core book is about, if you go and buy a physical book, paperback book, which is about 300 pages or so, it's $10 at your game store, $9.99. Or you can get a hardback for $19.99. And you can get it here digitally. It's officially licensed with Fantasy Grounds, and it's $9.99 in the Fantasy Grounds store. And it also has two plugins. It has two module plugins. One is for the player data, one is for the GM data. So it totally separates it for you, so your players can't look at all the DMs or GM stuff, which is really nice. So they took the extra bit of time, a little bit of extra effort, and split everything up for the buyer, which is really nice. So as you can see, when you get the Savage Worlds rule set, it has a very nice template, you know, with a different chat box that you're used to seeing. It has a Savage Worlds desktop logo that you can turn on. You can see that it has all the cool different cards over here that has, you know, especially with 3.2, now everything is beautiful for Savage Worlds. It was good before, but now that the tabs are gone and there are literally sections for edges and hindrances, vehicles and equipment now, separate entities on the right-hand side, this 3.2 was a massive overhaul for Savage Worlds. You know, if you are used to Savage Worlds, and if you're used to playing Savage Worlds pre 3.2 on Fantasy Grounds, and actually if you play with books around the table, you would have to have the core rule book, or if you were going to play Deadlands, you'd have to have the Deadlands book open, or if you were going to play Hellfrost or Weird Wars or one of the other, you can get any kind of setting that you want to for Savage Worlds, and there's so much player-created stuff as well that are on free PDFs that you can download. Like someone took and basically converted 100-page PDF worth of first edition advanced stuff, and you can play advanced first edition with Savage Worlds. It's a great generic system. It uses exploding dice. I'll show you guys that. The combat tracker in Fantasy Grounds takes care of that for you. You know, the exploding dice is where if you have a D4 and a certain skill, which everything, attacks, skills, and everything are called skill checks in Savage Worlds, if you roll a 4, then it explodes and it rolls again. And then if you roll another 4, you have an 8 now and it explodes and rolls again. So, and then if you roll a 2, then that means your total roll's 10. Well, damage works the same way. And it will take the system, Fantasy Grounds will take into consideration, you know, everything. It'll calculate, you know, ranges. It does, you know, you can hold down the control to attack versus parry. You know, everything has a DC of 4 in Savage Worlds, and the system recognizes all of that. It's really nice. It's got a beautiful character sheet and a lot of options for, you know, a lot of different special Savage Worlds house rules that are in the options panel up here. So we're going to basically click on every single thing. So if I miss something, I apologize, but I'm trying to get through this stuff within a certain amount of time for you guys, and I don't want to, you know, go over this for 3 hours because I probably could, but it's a really good rule set, and if you haven't tried it, I mean, it's only $10, guys. I mean, and you get, like I said, you get the players module, and you also get the GM. So that's what they call a game master in Savage Worlds. So, all right, so we're going to kind of take a look at the desktop itself. Now, it's got a chat just like it is. You know, you can right-click it. You get all the same options. You can clear the chat. You can, you know, move it around. You can unlock it. You can stretch it. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. You can do, you know, just like you can with all the other rule sets in Fantasy Grounds. It has a language filter also. I believe the language filter will be right here in the options section, but when you're going to have to create these, and in fact you'll probably have to download an extension from the forums for this, or maybe even go out to your extensions folder and probably activate it. And then once you activate the extension, then within the options and the languages in the lower left hand corner, you'll have all the options in the drop down box that you normally would if you were using, say, the 5e rule set. So check out the extensions folder, and then you can use the language filter, and it'll work the same as in any core RPG based rule set like 5e. Alright, so on the lower left hand corner, you can see the target number is 4 in Savage Worlds for Fantasy Grounds, and it's always going to stay there. You've got your dice. You can right click them. You can hold them down and right click and just keep right clicking and get a bunch of them, throw them in the chat. You got to make sure you throw them in the chat. If you throw the dice on the desktop, you see that nothing will register in the chat. So make sure you throw all of your rolls into the chat. But a lot of things are automated in a combat tracker, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. Alright, so you'll have your modifier box just like in every other game, and the only modifier that you really use in Savage Worlds, because the numbers are so small and so low that you only really use them at +2 or -2. There's a section in the core book that talks about +2, -2. So that's about the only thing that you're really going to need. Now this little dice here, this is for when you get a raise, it's called. All right, and say you have a target number of 4. That's what you're going to have. So if you attack with a bow, you got to hit a 4. So if you roll a 12, you got to hit a 4. Now if you get 4 over that target number, that's called a raise, and it would be a crit. So it would be the same or the equivalent of a crit. It's not called a crit, but you could consider it a crit. And then it would roll an extra 1d6 damage on a raise, which is really nice. So the system automatically recognizes it, but say if you're using like a special skill that is not on your character sheet or something like that, and you need to actually tell the system that it is a raise, then just click this plus damage button, and the raise will automatically add in a d6, and it won't do it with this, but it'll do it with the attacks on the sheets and stuff. So just take that into consideration. It will have the plus damage here. Now it has you go into the options, you can turn on the castle over here. This is the dice tower, and this is for DM's eyes only. Nobody else can see it, and the only thing that you can see is like a question mark, and you'll see the shadow of the dice kind of run out into the chat box. So it's pretty nice. All right, so I think we're about done with the actual tabletop itself, except for all the buttons down here. These buttons down here, the 12 buttons, these are macros, and you'll have the same macros in every rule set that you have for Fantasy Grounds. So there's a total of 96 of them, with the combinations of F1 through 12, and then you can hit Control, as you can see down here. You can see the C pop up, or if you want to hit Alt, or if you want to hit Shift, or if you want to hit Shift Control Alt, or if you want to hit Alt Shift or Control Shift, or whatever combination you want to. There's like 96 macros that you can take advantage of, and it's really nice to have that. Maybe you want to put on Shift all of your attacks, maybe all of your skill checks on like C, so you can basically have them all memorized, and like a robot you can just go, I use my skill check, Control, whatever. You can do that. So take advantage of the macros, because a lot of people don't, and they're down there for a reason. Alright, so let's take a look at these buttons on the right hand side for the Savage Worlds rule set. The first one we'll take a look at is the options, and like I said, I've already shown you this with the languages filter, but there are a lot of other things that you can customize with the Fantasy Grounds and Savage Worlds rule set using Fantasy Grounds. There's a lot of you can do apply the auto bonus for the Joker, which we all know that the Joker is the Joker card, and it's the highest card that you can get, because for initiative, Savage Worlds does not use dice. Savage Worlds uses a deck of cards, and you deal cards every single round. It's not like a flat number that you roll at the beginning of combat and it just cycles through every round and everybody stays in the same position unless you hold or anything like that. Savage Worlds works by using cards. It's really cool. It goes jokers at the top, and then in numerical from descending and suit it goes jokers and then spades and then hearts, diamonds, and clubs. So it descends alphabetically and numerically. So if you have a 2 of spades, that you'll have a 2 of spades, and you'll compare it against the hearts, the diamonds, or the clubs. So everything is taken care of automatically in the combat tracker, and I'll show you that in just a second. So you can just kind of filter through all of the options here and just take a look at if you like anything that you see, especially with like Joker's Wild. If you're setting maybe like Hellfrost doesn't use PowerPoints, which is sort of like a mana system. So if you're doing Hellfrost, there's no PowerPoints. You can shut those off here in the tracker. You can do custom skill specializations, and then there's all kinds of other things that has to do with the rule set, all in the options. All right. Now, the little zombie icon, I call it the zombie icon. It's like this little shuffling zombie, but it's the effects button. And what the effects button is it has a bunch of preloaded things like I was talking about. Here's +2 to armor. Here's, maybe you're using barrier, or maybe you're using the berserker edge, or maybe you're using the blind hindrance. So you can just take these and drop them on your character, and it'll, if you have your character in the combat tracker, which I'll open up here, and I've got a couple, you can take any of these and just kind of drop it on there, and you'll see that it adds armor +2. Pretty crazy. And then it takes into consideration you'll have 2 more armor as you're being attacked. Really cool. So that's the effects. All right. Now let's take a look at the modifiers. Almost the same thing, but these are just, modifiers with like hitting smaller targets, hitting larger targets, using the aim action that you can use. So there's a bunch in here. Take a look at it. Here's ganging up, the old gangbang bonus. If you have more than one opponent, so if you're here and another opponent's adjacent, everybody gets a +1 to hit. So it's really nice, and you can use this. There's grappled, all that good stuff. So this is in the modifiers box. Now it has a color palette, the old Bob Ross color palette. I guess you could call it the Bob Ross. Oh, these dice are just beautiful. So you can change the color of the font on the dice. You can change the actual color itself, and just kind of cycle through all the colors. Really cool, and just kind of have fun with it. All right, pretty cool, huh? Every rule set in Fantasy Grounds has that. So, also this has the the daytime, the nighttime, the camping, and the overbrush effect. So we're on standard right now. This is daylight. You go there, click on it again. Now it dims everything down to a very soft blue color, like a baby blue, and now this represents nighttime. The fire symbol represents everyone sitting around a campfire at night. And the last one is if you're in a lot of heavy brush, there's a lot of overhanging trees, then it kind of goes to a maybe like a very light sea green or something like that. All right. So after this, then after the lighting, which we'll put back to normal, we'll go into the little toolbox icon, as it's called. It looks like looks like a hammer and a wrench that's crossed. Almost like a, yeah, it is. It's a hammer and a wrench. And what it does is it opens up this little wooden interface. And this has your card deck, so you can deal cards to players if you're going to play a game, or if you're going to do it old school and not use the initiative button on the combat tracker, you can deal cards manually. It has a GM Benny. The GMs get a Benny for every single character that's playing, and then they also get a couple more bennies whenever a wild card creature is thrown into the mix. So you can take your GM bennies and kind of add them in there. You should be able to anyways. Or you can just add them here. Use Benny to soak. Let's see. Why is this not adding the bennies? It should be adding my DM bennies. What is going on here? Use Benny to remove shaken. Use Benny to reroll. Anyways, it's supposed to hold bennies. I've always been able to just drag them, drop them in there, but it's not working this time. But I will say this, you can drag and drop the regular Savage Worlds bennies. Maybe it's the, okay. Oh, so it's the okay, I got it now. My bad. It's the GM tray, and then I just take the bennies and just throw them in there. As you can see that they're just accumulating. And then I can, if I have a monster that's shaken, I can just right-click it and use the Benny to remove the shaken. It will automatically remove the shaken from the monster sheet and then put something in the chat saying the game master has used the Benny to remove the shaken status. Pretty cool. And I'll show you once we kind of start messing around with the combat tracker. And you'll also notice that you can add bennies up here on the character sheet as well, and they get the same right click and functionality to where you can remove a shaken. You can use a Benny to re-roll your roll if you don't like the roll, or you can use a Benny to soak. And basically what a Benny is in Savage Worlds, it's like an oh crap, get out of jail free card. And you start with 3 of them. There are some edges that you can take that will allow you to have more. I think one is called Lucky or something like that. So you can get more bennies per game. And your bennies reset every game. And they're equivalent to like a 5th edition inspiration. But you get a lot more bennies in Savage Worlds because it's a lot easier to die in Savage Worlds. I mean, anybody can die. There's no hiding behind 21 and 22 armor classes in Savage Worlds as there is in D&D 5th edition or any other D20 type of game. The logo or the saying of Savage Worlds is Fast and Furious. And it is what they advertise. I've had players in my zombie apocalypse game die, get murdered by zombies that just had a D4 attack or a D4 damage. And as many times as the 4 keeps rolling 4, it's going to explode and keep re-rolling and keep adding up the numbers. So yes, that little honey badger can take out a legendary creature if the rolls are lucky enough. It's all about luck in Savage Worlds too, which is awesome. I really like that because I don't like hiding behind these big armor class numbers in other games. I just don't like it. I want there to be players thinking, man, I could actually have my juggler ripped out by this skunk or by this honey badger, this cute little honey badger. So it's possible. Anybody can die by anything in Savage Worlds, and that's the great thing about it. And, like I said, the DC number is 4. So if you're attacking somebody with a bow, it's a DC of 4. Everything, every skill check DC, everything is a 4. Except for if you're attacking somebody in melee when you're adjacent to them, then you attack their parry. And sometimes it's even lower than a DC of 4. So it just depends on what the core attributes or stats are of that creature that you're attacking. So it's actually really cool, and it is a great system. All right, so this is the DM tray, and this is just a character summary of the characters, and I think it has something to do with the party sheet. I haven't really used that though. All right, let's see. Let's go to the next thing. That's all the tool trays and stuff. Now it has a calendar. You can go ahead and download extensions and stuff like that for the calendar. Now here's the party sheet. The party sheet has almost the same functionality because it doesn't have like EXP loot parcels because EXP works totally different in Savage Worlds than it does in, say, a D&D or a Pathfinder or any other D20 type of game that gives you static experience. This zombie is worth 100 XP. It doesn't work like that. You get EXP per session in Savage Worlds, usually between 2 and 3 experience points per session. And then every 5 experience points, then you go up a tier. and then there's 5 tiers. So there's a total of 25 levels in Savage Worlds, and I believe it goes from novice, then it goes to like experienced, and then it goes to expert, and then up to legendary. And I've missed a few in there, so but you got to get the drift of what I'm saying. But the party sheet, it works just like every other party sheet for Fantasy Grounds. You know, you can drag and drop loot parcels. It'll split the money up. You can designate items and send it to their character sheets and whatnot. It has a marching order formation. So if we have a couple of monsters here, we'll say that here's an air elemental and here's an assassin. Then you can just kind of do makeshift combats here and kind of use it for like maybe Theater of the Mind if you're not using full-blown beautiful maps. All right. So it has a party sheet, and then it has an other sheet that you can kind of like, it's notes from GMs and stuff like that, and then here's all your allies that you would drop into the sheet. Pretty nice. It has a lot of usefulness. Now there's a chase tracker, which in Savage Worlds there are chase rules. There's a whole chapter dedicated to chasing, and it goes by having cards as well, and you can do the initiative, and you could just use a tracker for chases. I won't get into the rules and the mechanics of the chases, but it's actually pretty cool. And you can there's tanks, there's Jeeps, there's Ferraris, there's everything in Savage Worlds. There are stats for every single kind of vehicle. Even for a Ford Festiva, probably, you could find stats for it. All right, so you can use the chase tracker. You just drop everybody in there, then roll, not roll initiative, but you would draw cards for initiative. I'm so used to saying roll initiative because most of the time I do play D20 stuff. But then it has your combat tracker, which, I think everything is the bread and butter of Fantasy Grounds because of the automation, but the combat tracker is really where a lot of the magic happens. And I'm going to show you guys. So I'm going to pull out this party sheet again, and I'm going to show you guys how things are kind of automated like they are in the 5e rule set, the 3.5 rule set, and most of the other rule sets out there. So take, for instance, you have your air elemental and your assassin, and we'll say that we'll start a new round, and voila, look at that. It draws the cards for you. It has the 8 of clubs there, and then the 7 of hearts. So you get the 8 is obviously higher. Now, if there were 2 8s, the club would go last because the club is the C for club. So if there was an 8 of diamonds or 8 of hearts or 8 of spades, it would go before the 8. So if there's any ties on numbers or the face cards, then yeah, you would have to go to the suit then. So it's all logical. It makes a lot of sense. And every round, you'll notice so the combat tracker says it's the air elemental's turn. We're going to go to the assassin. Now watch, when we're done and we go back to the top of the order, look at that. New initiative is the cards are dealt, and now the assassin has a jack of diamonds, which is obviously a lot higher than the 3 of spades. So it takes into consideration all of that stuff, and you can see everything, all of your skill checks, are all here. You can roll any of these, all of your attacking skill checks. Well, they're all called skill checks. There's really no difference, but there are skill checks, which the skill checks could be, fighting. That could be one skill check, but fighting has to do with agility. So, it's once you get used to the D4, D6, D8, D10, and D12, and then D12 plus up to 1, 2, or 3. It's actually pretty easy. But like I said, Fantasy Grounds, it takes care of everything for you. All right. Now, so we'll say that the assassin's turn is up, and he's going to use his short sword. So it's just like 5th edition or any of the other rule sets. You can just control. You can control. Target the elemental, or you can just go ahead and drag and drop it on there, which is what I like to do. So we'll attack the air elemental, and I rolled a 4. So it has a 6 parry, because remember I said all the DCs are 4 except for when you're in melee and you're adjacent and you're attacking. So this elemental has a 6 parry, which is pretty high, and that was a miss. So then we would go to the air elemental, hit the next actor button or the next combatant for this rule set, and now it's the air elemental's turn, and we'll go ahead and we'll use our wind blast attack and attack the assassin. And the assassin, let's see, is going to have a parry of 6, so the 6 is a hit. Then you would take the wind blast damage and drop it on the assassin, and as long as it breaks the toughness, then it will get a wound, and you can have 3 wounds, and then on the 4th wound you're dead. I believe it's the 4th wound you're dead. I haven't played Savage Worlds in a little while, but I believe it is the 4th wound you're dead. So the combat tracker acknowledges it. It had a 4. Let's see. It has a 6 toughness. You rolled 8 damage, so there was no raise. Okay, on the damage. Well, now I'm not trying to get confusion here, but these dice can explode too. So if you rolled 2 6s and you rolled double 6s, then those 6s would roll again, and then you'd have 12 plus whatever you rolled. And that's where Fast and Furious comes in, because the more dice that explode and the higher damage you take, you better have a good toughness, because every 4 numbers, every 4 after your toughness, you take a wound. So, if you take 4 wounds at one time, you're dead. I've seen that happen. I've seen a perfectly healthy character get flat out killed with 1 hit. And then you go on to another table that has, do you really die or do you start bleeding out? And it's really cool. It's so good. But if you're hit, if you just get hit, then you would be shaken anyway, and then that's when you can just use a Benny to get rid of shaken. Because if you're shaken on your turn, you really can't do a whole lot if you're shaken. So that's why you get more Bennies in Savage Worlds, and the DM gives out Bennies pretty frequently too. But everything is taken care of. You can see that with this 8 damage. You hit the 6th threshold. So basically what toughness is, it's like an armor mitigation basically. So you see it did one wound, and it would be shaken and incapacitated because this is an NPC. NPCs only have 1. But if this was a normal character, it would have 4. So we would just hit apply, and then look at that. The assassin's knocked out. And the cool thing about this, the combat trackers, check this out. When you delete one of these tokens, when you let's see, delete the combatant. I want to confirm this. Yes. Well, anyway, it doesn't put a blood mark on the party sheet. But if this was a normal map, when you delete out of the combat tracker, the token will disappear and a blood mark will appear on the map. And it'll kind of tell you, hey, this is like difficult terrain because there's a corpse here and blood. So it's really cool. So that's the combat tracker, and you can change everything. It shows you the rounds. It has you can hit the share button. You have to actually share the combat tracker as a GM because the players cannot access this. You have to actually share it. So I forget to do this a lot because in other rule sets the player can open up the combat tracker. But just remember, you have to actually manually open it for the players using the Savage Worlds rule set, which is not a big deal. It's only one click of a button. And then it has your next actor, friendly, neutral, and evil or aggressive. It has invisibility, all the effects. You can open up the each one of these NPCs, or you can open them up all together with the buttons on the top, or you can just kind of look at whenever it's not their turn, their attacks or whatever. So it's just like every other combat tracker, and it does keep track of everything. It keeps track of everything, believe me. All right, so that's the combat tracker, and that's pretty much the last thing we're going to take a look at on the top buttons. Now, you're going to notice that this is 3.2 brought a massive improvement to playing Savage Worlds, a more efficient way of playing. Now you don't have to thumb through the core book. You don't have to thumb through the 20 different Deadlands books to figure out what edges or what hindrances you want to play, or what monsters. Oh, I remember there was an automaton somewhere that was like a spider. I remember it was somewhere. But now with 3.2, everything is now integrated into one box and one search, which is really nice. So you still got the same type of character selection as every other game. Same type of notes. No need to go into there. You just right click, create your notes, make them public and whatnot. Your images are the same way. You just right click on the image and share it. Here's your story tab. This will have basically anything that pertains to modules or information based on whatever you have activated in your library. NPCs, here's all the NPCs now, and this is the massive improvement that what I'm talking about. Because before, when you would click this up, there'd be a bunch of little different colored tabs down here, and it was crazy. But the tabs do the same thing as the new drop-down box, but the drop-down box is just much nicer to navigate with. So if I'm looking for, hey, I know that there's some spider that's in the the GM guide. I would just go to the GM guide and look for spider or something like that. Maybe there's a giant worm, or maybe it was a giant worm. There it is. I would just open up the combat tracker and drop the giant worm over into the combat tracker, and I'm ready to go. Piece of cake, or a couple of them, whatever. You can also make parcels. Well, you can make encounter parcels also, which we'll talk about in just a second. So there you go. I mean, you can search all the different monsters. You can do this by toughness, which is basically by tier, or you can see if they're wild card or not. Wild card means that they get an extra D6 roll, and all player characters they get it's like a free roll, a free D6 roll every time. So if you have a fighting of a D6, then you're going to have a wild die that you throw too, which is another D6. So if your real fighting roll doesn't work, then go to your wild die. Maybe your wild die will work. If it doesn't, at least you had an extra chance. So it's really player friendly, especially with the low DCs of 4. You hardly ever miss in this game, unless you have you're fighting things that are that have cover and stuff. Then you'd have like -2s, or if they're like super difficult skill checks, maybe your game master will say put a -2 or drop that effect pendant on your on your character, because of it's just so damn dark in here and you can't see anything. So your perception check won't really work. Or it depends on if you have visions or anything. So there's a couple different visions in Savage Worlds. So, but there's the NPCs, and you can just look. The more that you have activated in your library, the more monsters will show up. Like here's all the stuff from the Marshal's Handbook, which is like the Deadlands Reloaded DM's guide. And here's all the different Sasquatch and Poison Woman, the Maze Dragon, Los Diablos, all that good stuff. Large tarantulas, gremlins. It's like if you don't know what Deadlands is like it's about 1880s, or I'd say 1860s to 1880s United States. There's still Union and Confederacy stuff going on, but it's sort of like steampunk as well, and demons and devils. It's pretty cool. It's a really cool Western, and there's all kinds of like ray guns, normal guns. It's crazy. It depends on if you have Ghost Rock, which is like the main thing that everybody wants, especially like the weird scientists that make all this crazy stuff, like walking machines and stuff. It's really cool. Deadlands Reloaded. Check it out. So let's see. That's the beast. Now, with the NPCs, you can create the encounters too. So you can pre-build your encounter. So if you have 7 natives that you want to put in one, and you can place the natives or the French soldiers or the English soldiers on the map, you can do that. Predestinate them on the map. put them in a parcel, in an encounters parcel, and then you can automatically generate the encounter where it will throw everything in a combat tracker and place everything on the map for you. Pretty cool. So you can still do that in Savage Worlds. Now here's all the items. Everything is nice and organized as the monsters, and you just go to whatever source that has items, and you just here's all the stuff in Savage Worlds Player's Guide. The 120 millimeter tank gun, 125 millimeter tank gun. Here's a 57 millimeter AT gun. The AK-47, anti-tank mine, arrows, AT-4s, axes. Everything's mixed up from fantasy to modern to sci-fi to crazy shit. And there's some crazy shit in Savage Worlds, believe me, especially when you start getting into the actual different genres of games, especially like Deadlands. There's like wrist rockets and all kinds of stuff. It's really cool. And then you would just like the monsters, you would just go to the drop down box or go to category and choose armor or magic weapons, magic items, mundane items, range. I mean, everything is nice and organized if you use all of the different variables to organize it for you, and then it just kind of selects what you have for your preference. AT tanks and guns is even an option. Look at that. There you go. Pretty cool. All right, it even has it even has Soviet Union stuff, German stuff, and then the more stuff you add, the more stuff. Especially like Weird Wars, where it's sort of like a World War II zombie apocalypse, then it would have probably a lot more stuff than that. All right, so let's go to parcels. You can build loot parcels, like I said, and put those into your party tracker, which is right here, your party sheet, and then you would just drop the loot parcel in there. It would separate the coins, separate the actual physical items, and then you can just tell each item where to go on whose character sheet. Walla walla walla. Make sure the name is exactly the way it's spelled, because if it's not, it won't work. So if it's capital C for Chris, it's got to be, and plus it'll auto highlight as well. So then you would just select it as it kind of autofills in the box. But that's the loot parcels. So this rule set will do loot parcels, and then it also has vehicles, and you can see here's a PT boat to a police cruiser to a semi to a small yacht. Here's the space shuttle, for Christ's sake. It's $250 million. If you got $250 million, guess what? You can buy a damn space shuttle in Savage Worlds. And here's there's Hueys, everything in here. Mid-sized cars, small cars, dirt bikes, bicycle, biplane, whatever you want. The more modules you get, the more it'll throw into the vehicles. It's just the way it is. All right, pretty cool. All right, so then we go into the archetypes. The archetypes are sort of like, they're not quite character sheets, but they're pre-generated. Like here's a driver character sheet. If you need a driver, throw it in the tracker. If you need a leader or a mage or a marksman or a martial artist or a pilot, whatever, there's a bunch of archetypes for you. And every Savage Worlds setting usually has a section of archetypes at your disposal. Now, part of character customization is edges, and these are basically like your features, your features that you want to add to your character. There's a lot of edges that are based on, these are basically good things that your character gets, basically, and you can just now you can just look through them all, and it tells you what source it's from. Like if you want fervor, it's from the Savage Worlds Deluxe Handbook. If you want fetish creator, you can just imagine what that is. You can go to it. That's out of the Deadlands Reloaded Player's Guide. You don't have to actually open up the books and have 50 windows open anymore trying to find this stuff. Everything is manageable, and that's such an awesome thing about 3.2 going along with Savage Worlds. That was one thing that my players complained about. All my players love Fantasy Grounds. When we made the transition to Fantasy Grounds a couple years back, everybody loves it. But the one thing that they complained about was Savage Worlds and all of the different modules you had to open up and basically look for look for edges or stuff like that. Now the next thing, every time you take edges for your character, you have to take hindrances, and hindrances are negative things that your character has, and you'll get I think you get 1 major and 2 minors or something like that. Don't hold me to that, but you get the idea. Like, you can have an all thumbs hindrance, or you can have the arrogant hindrance, or blind, and it tells you where all these different hindrances come from, what source. It's awesome. Before, it didn't do that. Here's monster abilities. These are just monster abilities that you can drag and drop on. If you're creating your own NPCs, you should be able to just drop these right on there, and that's really nice. I wish 5e would do that. That would be pretty cool. All right, so here's powers. Powers are basically spells. That's the same name as a spell. Some settings use power points, like I said. Some settings, like Hellfrost, do not use power points, and you can cast magic every round, but it's super dangerous, and you can explode. Your head will literally explode off your own shoulders if you roll bad enough. So all your powers, all the different sources that they come from, really nice. Here's a quest. So basically, if you're creating quests, you can put like the EXP parcel and stuff in there. All right, so the races, here's all the different races. In Deadlands, there's just like maybe humans. Well, there are just humans, unless you would play like an automaton or something like that. But here's all kinds of stuff for fantasy, sci-fi, all that good stuff. Like Last Parsec has just been released for Fantasy Grounds, so if you got that module from the store, it would add in all of the different Last Parsec science fiction races. If you had the science fiction companion, it would add all those different races, because the sci-fi companion and Last Parsec kind of go together. So, all right, there you go. Races, skills. Here's all the different skills, and some settings will say, hey, you can't use the driving skill unless you use it just for wagons, like maybe for fantasy. Maybe there's no faith because there's no magic, or so you just have to kind of read the setting to say what you can use and what you can't use. But here's all the different skills, and when you click on them, it tells you what how to do stealth and stuff like that. So there's the skills. Here's all the different tables. It pulls in all the different tables. So if you're rolling for magic items, you would just do this. You would just pull that magic item, one magic item. You would just click the button, and then it tells you you get a ranged weapon, and then it just continues to roll for you, because the guys at Fantasy Grounds linked all this stuff together, put them in complex tables. So I wanted one magic item. It was a ranged weapon. It was standard, value of $10. It was a sling, and then it also has a ranged bonus of +1 damage. So it is magical, and it's worth $1,000. Everything is default dollars for currency in Savage Worlds. But of course, if you want to change it to gold or whatever you want, shins, feel free to. There's no rule saying that you can't do that. So here's your tokens again. Of course, your tokens aren't, there are some tokens that come with the Savage World stuff, the Deadlands stuff, and it'll activate once you activate the modules. And then here's your library interface, and it controls all of the buttons on the right-hand side. So if you want to go to GM mode, here's all the GM pertaining stuff. If you want to go to players mode, here's all the player stuff, and then you would add in your edges and hindrance and stuff. Or you can just keep it on all when you're in GM mode, like what I do. So there you go, guys. That is a lot that Fantasy Grounds has put together for everybody to use Savage Worlds as a rule set and to be able to enjoy Savage Worlds. And like I said, the combat tracker, it takes care of all of your exploding dice. It deals the cards for you at the top of the round. It is awesome, guys, and it's only $10 in the store. And you get a player module plugin and a GM module plugin. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed the overview of this, and I'll be doing a lot more of these for each different rule set that Fantasy Grounds has. So thanks guys for watching. I totally appreciate it.